these are things I'm learning from. Sort of using them in the way that they were intended, which is, you know, to bring a little craft into your life and to learn new things. So today I wanted to talk, yes, about learning new things, but about celebrating the joy of learning those things and celebrating the small wins. What these are vintage crafting kits. This one is a cute little embroidery kit of a Victorian house because I live in San Francisco and we have lots of those. This one I honestly haven't even opened yet because I just got it yesterday and I don't even really know what's in it because it was just sort of sold as a mystery mid-century craft kit. There used to be this thing called the National Handicraft Society, and this was their like book of the month club, but it was a craft of the month club, which genius. So I mean, maybe we could open that together. So if you were here last week, I chose a project to do from my embroidery bin because the dog was sleeping on the project I had planned, and that's just how life goes, right? So I chose this little embroidery kit. Look how cute that is, right? We saw that last week. So this is it finished? No. It's so tiny, but takes just as long as a big one. And it was a busy week, and so there we go. So that's how far I've gotten, and this is where we're getting. It's going to end up to be a little pendant brooch. I'm loving it. I learned a few things. But I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't a little it wasn't not a little frustrating, it was frustrating. Partly because it's so tiny, partly because sometimes with these kits, the instructions are less than helpful. I am also not a patient person. I'm trying to learn patience. That's part of this whole thing. But yeah, it's not finished, but I'm excited to finish it. I'm excited to put it together. And see how it all goes. But it was really frustrating having to learn how to not just do the stitches, but because this is turning into another thing that's like outside of its frame, I had to really center it properly, which I hadn't done at first, and you have to count each stitch, and this is tiny. So I learned a few things, and until I sat down to make this video, hadn't really celebrated that win. The fact that no, it's not finished. And yes, it frustrated me. And I let myself get frustrated. We can talk about that another time. But I need to celebrate the fact that I started it and that I am almost finished and that I learned something. And so again, today I really do want to talk about celebrating those joys in small creative wins. Things that really keep us going are the day-to-day things, the little stuff. And I've really been trying to be better personally about celebrating those because this is something that I have been telling my clients to do for a long time professionally, right? Where if you get an email from a supervisor telling you did a good job, or you reached a particular milestone, or you invented something, you created something, you just did really well, to mark that down and mark the occasion and to celebrate it and to keep that sort of in a, you know, a folder, a logbook of, hey, here's my awesome things. But I do also believe that you need to do that for small everyday wins. And for me right now, I'm going to be focusing on, right, the crafting journey, the art journey, the creativity journey things. And something that I learned fairly recently, your brain doesn't really know the difference between, hey, I got a promotion and I'm making $100,000 versus I learned how to do the most perfect little French knot in my embroidery, and I'm very excited. Like, the same amount of serotonin, our brain kind of reads it as the same. I'm not saying that massive promotion with the big chunk of cash isn't going to change your life more than learning a knot will, but our brain is like, yay, we're celebrating the same type of thing. I find that really interesting, the way our brain sort of models that. And right now, I think we could all use some amazing small wins, right? So let's celebrate a little win. I made this pillow. This was one of the first big embroidery projects I did. I'm not going to say it didn't take like 7 years, because it did take something akin to that. I had owned this kit for a long time because this came in one of the kits like I just piled up. And I started it, and then I put it away, and then the pandemic happened, and then I got most of it finished, and then the sewing part and the doing these big tassels and this rope part seemed really daunting, so I just didn't for a long time until finally I did. So was it difficult? No, not really, but it did take me, yeah, about 7 years. But anyway, celebrating and tracking. So I have decided as part of this, you know, revisiting my creativity journey, that I also want to start not tracking everything, but at least tracking some of those wins sort of officially, so that I can look back when I haven't felt like I've had much progress. Okay, so on this list, we've got embroidery, specifically crewel. This is called crewel embroidery, C-R-E-W-E-L. It's sort of a bigger wool on a bigger type of fabric thing, very big in the late 60s, 70s. I really enjoy it. I like it. It's bigger, it's chunkier, it's thick. It's fun, and you can use these, you know, beautiful, vibrant wools. And for some reason, it seems less precious than the small kind of satiny embroidery. I'm not great with things that are precious. So this is on the list. This is number 1. Number 2, cross stitch. I now officially, I mean, this is needlepoint cross stitch. Maybe I shouldn't have it on the list yet because I don't know the difference. So I will learn whether I've learned cross stitch or needlepoint. I'm sure there's a difference. They can't be used interchangeably, can they? But it's on the list, whichever one it is that I've learned. And then I learned a new cooking technique. Ooh, hang on, I should show you that. Okay, so this is a cookbook from 1902. I collect vintage cookbooks when I was teaching myself how to cook. I didn't find the new cookbooks, I don't know, they seemed intimidating. And I had been at a used bookstore, you know, one day, and I found an old cookbook where someone had written, much like this one, like handwritten recipes. For some reason, it brought it home, like, oh, that's, you know, a real person did that, not, you know, some celebrity chef. This is, you know, a real person making meals for their people. That's something I can do. And I loved the book. I don't genuinely remember which book it was that sort of started me on this path. I now have a lot of very vintage cookbooks, but this one is from 1902. And of course, now I'm not going to be able to find the recipe, but there was sort of a little croquette crab situation. And the entire recipe was like 3 sentences, which now that I know how to cook made sense to me. As someone just starting out, I would have maybe freaked out at something like that. But on the other hand, it also makes it seem easy. Like, okay, that's it. There's not an 8-page gastronomic, you know, treatise, essay on, you know, all of these very tiny little specifics. It was simply like, here's how to make a crab croquette. And they weren't the best. I didn't love them. But I learned the technique. I learned how to make it, and there are things now, because now I do know how to cook. I'm actually quite a good cook now. I would change it, but I like to start with, especially if it's a vintage one, I like to start with the recipe first. So that is on the list. Something I wanted to add to this list that isn't on here. Part of this journey for me is making these videos, and I really wanted by this week to have mastered Premiere Pro so that I could edit and make my videos cute and make them look great, and just, you know, and it didn't seem difficult to me, but I don't know if this is just 100% user error or if there's an issue with my app or something, but whew, I cannot have that on this list because I haven't learned it, because it is thwarting me. It's really, really difficult for me. Again, I can't even keep my imported videos imported. It's not allowing me to drag and drop things where I know you are meant to be able to do that. So I don't know if it's my fairly new computer, if it is my app, if it is, again, user error, entirely possible. Quick to admit fault when it's especially something that I don't know. But I am annoyed that it's not on this list, but then again, I realize that most of the videos that I enjoy watching are about someone learning to do something. So, you know, someone learning to garden, someone taking you on their cooking journey, someone who has, you know, bought or inherited a rundown home and is making it their own and just learning how to fix things and really just being proactive and saying, I can do this, or I have to do this because I can't afford another option. And those videos tend to be the least edited, the least slick. They tend to be, you know, someone learning something else other than, you know, the craft of making videos and editing. So until I get to the point where I can tackle this, you know, tech thing and I can put it on my list, I'm going to take heart in the fact that I might actually prefer to watch a video how you're going to see it, which is not really all that edited and slick. But I do want to celebrate that one eventually. All right, so we're going to move to my little cornery work spot because the light's just always better in here. Okay, so while I attempt to maybe finish this during this video, let's talk about, you know, yes, celebrating the wins, but also, like, I don't know, maybe measuring things in wins isn't the way to think of it. Because for me, when I'm creating stuff, when I'm learning stuff, it does kind of sound cheesy, but it really is about the process. My favorite part of creating, we talked about this last time, isn't necessarily outcome, but for me, it's the learning, it's the doing, it's the getting really into it. And I think I'm really lucky in that I don't worry if stuff doesn't look Pinterest perfect. But I guess this is what I'm getting at, is that all those moments when you're figuring stuff out, that's truly the important thing, right? The getting to it becoming second nature to the point where you could bake a cake, just freehand, scratch, no recipe, because you're so good at it, because you watched Bake Off and you got really inspired and you taught yourself how to do those kind of things. I think there's just so much failure before you get to that point. And I think the little wins that come from those, you know, days, hours, weeks, months, years of failure are super important. I think they're just genuinely really, really important. When you're just doing the thing and you're not worried about if other people are going to think it's good enough, which can be really difficult, right? So when I'm talking about celebrating wins, I'm not talking about external validation necessarily. I am talking about you set out to do a thing and you did it. And whether you did it perfectly, not the point. You know, it is simply in the you did it. I'm not doing this to become an expert. I'm not doing this to become a winner in the traditional sense. I'm not looking for the blue ribbon. I am, when I say that I'm celebrating my wins and I'm writing them on, you know, my notes app on my phone, it is personal wins. It is wins for me. It is wins for my creative practice. It is, yeah, I want to be happy with what I create. But I think my version of being happy with what I create and what some people might feel is, you know, acceptable. Two very different things. I just made a major mistake because I was focused on chatting with you. But here's the thing, I can fix it. And is anyone gonna know? Most likely not. And if they are that close to my little homemade pendant here, and they can tell, then I probably am very close to them as a person and they're not gonna judge me. Like that. To decide what my next project is, because I have decided that as a small win to myself, I want to complete my little brooch pendant today, and I think I absolutely can. I just have to sit down and put on some lovely music or a little podcast and get to working for maybe an hour or so, and I honestly think I could finish it in that time, because I've decided I am going to consider that me learning the stitching and creating myself this little piece of jewelry. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna consider a win, and I'm gonna mark it down. I am going to reattempt, give myself another shot at learning the editing software that is right now doing me a little dirty. And then I'm gonna start on the next thing. And here's where we're doing all of this, because I do want to have a thing that I'm learning. I don't want to just do a thing for the meditative practice like I was talking about last week. I have some of that already ready to go. I want to learn something new, because I do think if I can't get a handle on this editing software, I am going to need that little win to push me along a little bit. Love some mid-century sort of style, inspiration, all of that, and I found this magazine. Oh, it's called Golden Hands, and it's kind of really cool in that you start, there's a couple volumes, and they start like, hey, we're in volume 1, you know, edition 1, it's sort of like, hey, we're going to be making a skirt, and here's a stuffed animal you can make, and here's sort of the history of Flemish tapestry. And then the next edition is, okay, here's how we cut the pattern for these things. And then the third one is, all right, let's sew these. So they build on each other, and they're really they progress on each other. These all have things that I would love to learn how to do. I mean, look at this. You want to learn how to knit this freaking gorgeous outfit? Yeah, I probably do. I am getting a sense that I may have to learn how to knit, although a lot of this is apparently machine knitting. I don't know how many people had just, you know, machine knits at home. There is the latch hook, which I did purchase myself. I did have one when I was a kid. Got the hook. It needs to be repaired. It is vintage. Of course it needs to be repaired. I got myself a rug kit. I'm excited to maybe do that. But again, that's something I know how to do already. Ugh, look at these two. I mean, come on. But there's so much in all of these that I don't know how to do. There are also little arts and crafts on the back. Come on. I'm obsessed with these. But yeah, there's things. There is embroidery. There is sewing. There is drafting. There is knitting. There are kittens. A lot of kittens. There are creepy dolls. I don't know. Do you want me to show you the creepy dolls? Look at the creepy dolls. Oh, that is specifically for 12-year-olds. That is weird. Crochet, knitting, patterning, embroidery, needlepoint, toy making, dressmaking, and then just general fashion flair. Ooh, specifically embroidery for lingerie. And that's just this one. So I could choose something out of those. Other option. Oh, this is amazing. Simple Stitches by Tina of California. Look at this thing. I mean, do I have a home bar? Yes. Is it of this 1970s sort of Western colonial aesthetic? Oh, absolutely not. This is just silly and fun, and I don't even know for the life of me where I found this. I've had this sitting in my like pile of stuff to eventually maybe do one day for a long time. This is sort of where I'm thinking I'm gonna go. This is the suede belt kit by Fashion Flair. It is make by number, so very paint by number, but it's make by number, and you make yourself a super sassy suede belt. Very high fashion. This could be fun. I have no idea what this entails. I think it's sort of embroidery on suede. Making a belt. I've never made a belt. I've never worked with suede. Never worked with leather. Have I ever done any leather working? I don't think so. Yeah, did wood shop, did sewing class, but like, I don't think I've ever worked with leather. Even in all my years at summer camp, I was a camp kid. I don't think I worked with leather. All of this stuff is so dusty by allergies. Ooh, I could. This is, this could be interesting. Continuation of me relearning how to sew. Plus, I do love to do the crewel embroidery. This is making a purse. Yeah, making a purse. So you embroider the burlap, it looks like, which I've never embroidered on burlap. So embroider the burlap, sew it to a very 1970s floral pattern. Look at this gorgeousness. And then create this super cute purse out of it. That could be fun. The original craft project, if you were here for that, was I made a bag and I sewed it, and it was a thrift flip from a vintage dress, and it was in theory meant to be a beach bag, but as you can see, a little too small, and I decided to use it for my projects, like whatever I'm crafting, to keep it in here so that, you know, everything stays together, nothing gets lost, and it's super cute, and I can carry it around the house and know exactly what's in there. So that's what occurred. So I didn't get my beach bag. This does look like it's big enough to be a beach bag, so we could revisit that situation. Let's see what's in this at the beginning of our little not unboxing, our stacking. This is from Fad of the Month. Let's see, what have we got? Got some satin and some velvet. It's another purse. Oh, it's a handbag. Look at this cutie. Also, it's an actual sendable postcard, and it is called the Enchanted Evening Bag, Rich Crimson Velvet Party Purse, lined with snowy white satin and trimmed with iridescent French spangles. I don't know what skills. There is a letter in here from, yeah, the Fad of the Month from Des Moines, Iowa, the Enchanted Evening Bag. Oh, it seems like it's like a December thing, because there's cute little Santa. Make the Enchanted Evening Bag. Okay, so you have to steam the velvet. You've got to sew, seam down. So yeah, it looks like hand sewing, which I know how to do, but I usually tend to do it more for repairs than creating things. So this could absolutely be something we choose. I choose? I mean, if you're watching this and you've got thoughts, you absolutely can, you know, weigh in. So I also have a whole bag of things, because a lot of times when you buy stuff at, you know, flea markets, garage sales, it doesn't actually have its packaging, or it comes in pieces. I didn't remember that I had this many of these, but so the pendant, which I keep complaining was too small. I have stick pins, which are even smaller. It is so tiny, if you can see this even. I mean, it's, oh, there is some ancient glue in there that is just petrified. Okay, I don't want to do this because by the time I'm done with my brooch, I will be done for a while with the tiny, tiny needlework. Okay, so we're not choosing that. Okay, so this is a full size tablecloth. Another thing that I collect, there's a designer called Vera Newman. She was huge, 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s. She was very much about functional design and how, you know, your napkins can be amazingly colorful and designed, but they're still usable and you should use them. And I love that. It was kind of funny. I was in New York and went to, oh, I'm going to forget which museum it was. Not one of the big ones. It was like Museum of Craft Arts or something like that. They were having a Vera Newman exhibit, and my kitchen, like napkins, like everyday dinner napkins, were on the wall in a museum, like behind glass, pinned up. It was a little surreal. But Vera Stitch, okay. Oh, this is placemats. Placemats and napkins that I would embroider myself. Okay. I am down for that, but again, I want to choose something that I'm going to learn from. So far, the evening bag and the suede belt are our winners, or our front runners, I should say. Apparently, I also bought a whole ass tablecloth, and that's what, oh, this whole big thing is. Okay, that is, I know how to embroider, but this is intimidating. This is a lot. This would be, oh, it's got gook on it. Little schmutz. I have to clean that, but it is a tablecloth. That is its purpose, to get stuff on it. And then I've got multiple embroidery hoops, because you got to have more than one. I have a Dolly Parton embroidery kit. Oh, I'm sure someone bought me this as a gift. I do tend to get embroidery kits as gifts, which is great, because again, these are things I like. It's Betty White. These are things I like to have, like I said, around the house, that so when I want to relax and I'm not in the mood to read, or I need to be paying attention to something else but need my hands to have something to do, I like to have sort of a pre-made, ready to roll thing that I can work on, just sort of around. Cruel and so this is much like the pillow that I showed you at the beginning, but this is meant to be purely decorative. You then put it in a frame. Oh, it says picture or pillow. Okay. So I could be making a pillow. Oh, the dust. Again, these are things that I know how to do. I think I have made up my mind. There's a lot to choose from here, and as excited as I am about the Fashion Flair suede belt kit, which is going to be high on the list, I think I'm going to do what looks to be from the 50s. It was not advertised as being that old, but the little evening bag, because it does look like there's like 6 different techniques. Like you've got to steam things, you've got to sew things, you've got to sort of bead things, all of which I ostensibly know how to do, but I've never done them sort of all at once, all together. And I think because this whole thing was supposed to be about celebrating your wins and the power of small wins and joy in the celebrating your creative wins, it feels celebratory to have a very cute little evening bag. And, you know, if I do finally learn this editing program, maybe, you know, I'll go out to a fancy bar and take my cute little evening bag, right? So I think that's what I'm going to choose. Yeah. So I suppose final thoughts, big takeaway. I'm remembering that creativity is about making you feel good. And I think that is a win that I should celebrate. And I encourage you to find what parts of you need to be sort of reactivated. Again, for me, it was creativity. Find what you want, and maybe for you it is creativity too, but find what it is that you want about yourself to reinvigorate, and acknowledge the fact that you've even taken that step, and celebrate just doing the thing. Celebrate doing the tiny things, the little stuff that makes you feel good. Yeah. I'm going to continue cleaning up the very big mess that I made. I would love if you, again, you chose something fun, you chose something little, you chose something that made you feel good, and you went and you did it. And you celebrated just the doing of it. Yeah. Come back next week. We'll see if I've actually completed my little evening bag. Maybe I'll be wearing a, you know, recognizable brooch. If you like this conversation and you want to see more, stick around. I'll be back next week. Until then, stay creative, enjoy the little things, and I'll see you then.